The Galactic Academy's xenobiology lecture hall buzzed with the usual chatter of 24 species, their universal translators creating a symphony of overlapping conversations. Susan sat in the back row, her posture relaxed in a way that made the Vrexian students uncomfortable. They couldn't understand how a creature could be so calm, yet so dangerous. Deathworlder, they whispered when they thought she couldn't hear. But Susan heard everything. Evan, the only other human in the class, sat 3 rows ahead. He'd been off-world since he was 5, raised on a peaceful colony station where the gravity was gentle and the air was filtered to perfection. He looked human. But he'd forgotten what it meant to be human. Professor Zix Thar, a towering Mantelian with iridescent scales, was mid-lecture about pain tolerance across species when Evan raised his hand. "Professor, I don't understand why humans are classified as a Class 7 danger species. We're not that different from anyone else here." A ripple of nervous laughter echoed through the room. Susan's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. "Mr. Evan," the professor's translator crackled. "Perhaps you've been away from Earth too long. Your homeworld is a Class 1, 2 death world. Your species evolved under conditions that would kill most of us within hours." Evan shrugged. "That seems exaggerated." "It's not," Susan said quietly from the back. Everyone turned. This was the first time the Deathworld girl had spoken in 3 weeks of classes. "Your bones are 6 times denser than a Vrexian's," she continued, her voice steady. "Your grip strength can crush their exoskeleton without effort. You heal from injuries that would be fatal to most species here. And Earth? Also. Our Earth. Also." She leaned forward slightly. "Earth is trying to kill everything on it. All the time. We just got good at surviving," Evan laughed. "Come on, you're being dramatic." Susan's eyes locked onto his. "That's your first warning." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Professor Zix Thar cleared his throat. "Yes, well, let's continue with the lesson." But Evan wasn't finished. He'd spent too long being civilized, too long pretending humans were just like everyone else. He wanted to fit in. "I think you Deathworlders take pride in scaring everyone," Evan said, turning in his seat to face Susan. "We're all rational beings here. There's no need for these intimidation tactics." The other students shifted uncomfortably. A Quilixian in the front row had started secreting stress pheromones. Susan stood up slowly. Every predator instinct in the room recognized the movement. She wasn't tall, barely 165 centimeters, but when she moved with the efficiency of a species that had clawed its way to the top of the food chain. "You want a demonstration?" she asked softly. Evan started, but something in his genetic memory finally woke up. The colony-soft human suddenly recognized what his ancestors had always known. "There are some challenges you don't make." "Second warning," Susan said, even quieter than before. Then she sat down. Evan opened his mouth, pride and foolishness warring with the sudden certainty that he was making a terrible mistake. The pride won. "You're not that scary," he said. Susan didn't move. Didn't blink. "Class dismissed," she said, her voice carrying a weight that made Professor Zix Thar's scales flatten against his body. I haven't dismissed," the professor began. "Class dismissed," Susan repeated. 23 alien students scrambled for the exits. Only Professor Zix Thar and Evan remained, and the professor was edging toward the door. "Mr. Evan," Zix Thar whispered urgently, "I strongly suggest you apologize." But Evan, soft from years of safety, had forgotten the most important lesson Earth taught its children. Respect the warning signs. He stood up, walking toward Susan's row. "I'm not afraid of—" He never finished the sentence. Susan moved. Not fast by human standards, she wasn't trying to hurt him, but by the standards of colony-raised Evan. She was a blur. One moment she was sitting. The next, her hand was around his wrist, her thumb pressing a pressure point he didn't know existed. Evan's knees buckled. The pain was unlike anything he'd experienced in his cushioned life. Not overwhelming, not unbearable, just precise. A reminder that his body had built-in vulnerabilities, and she knew every single one. This, Susan said quietly, is me being gentle. This is me treating you like family, like another human who just forgot where he came from. She released him, and he staggered back. The Vrexians? The Quilixians? I could end them by accident, by reflex, by sneezing wrong. She picked up her datapad, stepping past him. At the door, she paused. You grew up thinking the universe was safe, Evan. That's a gift. Don't throw it away by pretending Earth didn't make us what we are. Her eyes held something ancient, something that remembered ice ages and predator hunts and survival against impossible odds. I warned you once with words. I warned you twice with silence. There won't be a third warning. She left. Evan stood in the empty lecture hall, his wrist throbbing, his pride shattered, and his genetic memory finally awake. Professor Zeke's Thar approached cautiously. She could have killed you, the professor said softly. In 17 different ways, according to my count. She chose none of them. Why? Evan whispered. Because you're human. And humans, Mr. Evan, protect their own, even from themselves. Zixthar's scales rippled. The second warning ended quietly, because she chose mercy. Pray you never discover what happens when a Deathworlder runs out of warnings. Evan looked at his wrist, already bruising in a perfect thumbprint. He thought about Earth, about evolution, about what it meant to be human, and for the first time since leaving his colony, he understood why the galaxy feared his species. Not because they were cruel, but because they could be gentle even when they didn't have to be. And that, somehow, was far more terrifying.